We've got another sunny day in Chicago, beautiful day today. And while we're on the Archer Avenue haunted triangle, as they call it, we're going to check out St. James at Sag Bridge, a very historical cemetery. And you can see here these gates, in fact, just to start out, are from the Hawthorne Works, Western Electric Hawthorne Works, which I believe is where the Eastland ship was made of the Eastland disaster. So interesting. We're in. This is historically a very famous place. Of course, the Indians, this was Indian territory up until 1833. Actually, up until mid-1600s, where this ridge right here is a very high prominent point. The French established a signal fort here. Father Jacques Marquette, who traveled here, he was a priest explorer in the, I think it was 1666, and hooked up with a pure French explorer named Louis Joliet. Actually, Joliet, Illinois, I gotta believe is named after him. And they went off together and they did a lot of exploring of they were looking for the Mississippi River, actually. And they were led to believe that it may empty, because the Indians said it emptied to a great saltwater oceans. So they were thinking, well, maybe that's the Western Passage. Boy, this is high. French signal fort here, 1600s. That's amazing. Anyway, they took the Mississippi down together by canoe over several years, and they came across, well, they kind of figured after a while, they're like, wow, this is going south. This is not heading the way we want it to go. Also, they were running into hostile Indians, particularly Iroquois, and worse. They made it as far as the Arkansas River. They turned around there and headed back. And Father Marquette, who, by the way, Marquette University is named after him. He died not long after. He was in his late 30s. I think near Ludington, Michigan, or his bones were brought there. And Joliet kept going and made a lot of discoveries in the upper northeast parts of Canada, and the king awarded him, if you look at a map in the St. Lawrence Seaway, there's a giant island, I forget what it's called, but the king awarded Louis Joliet this island. So this particular cemetery was really established. This is a more Irish descent here, and they built this channel. I mean, it seems inhuman, not possible to build this Illinois-Michigan channel. I think, well, it's right over, it's that way. And they built it to connect to the Mississippi. And a lot of people, it's said to be slave labor. A lot of people starved, worked to death. A lot of terrible things, suffering, but they did it. And boy, this is really interesting. This is kind of moved off its base. But what do you suppose that was? Van Ort. This is purported to be very haunted. I think this chapel has been rebuilt. It was called Monk's Castle years ago. Stories of monks floating around, all kinds of other stuff like that. And there's a story about a couple that was living here, and I think they were administrative or workers, but they're all held by the traditions. They weren't allowed to be together. So one night they had escaped together, and he got a horse and carriage in the middle of the night, and he was picking her up, and then the horses bolted and the carriage flipped over, and they were both killed. So you fast forward many years later, and there were two famous, not famous, but well-known musicians. I'll put their name and some of their pictures up here if I can find them. And they did a performance out here in the cemetery, like right here. All the people gathered in the area. And of course, in those days, you couldn't just hop on the expressway and head home. It was late, so they decided to stay here before heading back to Chicago. And at 1 a.m, one of the guys woke up. He was awakened by the clatter of horses, and he shot out of bed. They were sleeping on cots, actually on the second floor up here of this. They were right up there, and he looked out the window and he saw white horses, the carriage, and he saw them. It was like a reenactment of the terrible. And he said that when they got to the archway, right as they went through, the horses just disappeared. The whole thing, horses and carriage. And that reenactment has been supposedly happened after that. So I'm not saying it happened or it didn't happen, but there's also a grave here that we're looking for. I don't know if we'll find it. It's the Sullivans, and it is kind of an epicenter of paranormal activity. Again, this is not a paranormal channel, but I'm here. Might as well check it out, see what's interesting. And if I find it, we'll talk more about that. Looks like they're going to be having a wedding here today. Let's see if we can take a quick look inside. Oh, hi there.
Hi.
Can I do a quick video through here, or are they started yet?
No, they haven't started yet.
Can I do a quick, okay. Can I come through here, or should I go to?
Yeah, just make your genuflection before the altar here.
Right through here? Okay, thank you. Oh, thank you. Is this what used to be known as Monk's Castle, or is that something else?
Something else.
Oh, I swear I read about that.
This is St. James.
Okay. Beautiful. Do you know what year they built this?
Pardon me?
Do you know what year?
Well, it said 1833. Yeah.
1833.
Church,
Wow.
I think it was slightly after that. It's the oldest church of the Archdiocese.
Okay. Beautiful. As I was saying, this is mostly Irish, and these are the people who, their sweat and labor built the canal, which is an amazing human feat. And here again we see the limestone. I always call it the melting salt. Can't even. I'm sure it was easy to carve or sculpt with back in the day, but in these climates, worthless. But anyway, Conlon is one of the bigger families that, they're all buried here, all these workers. Here is a memorial that goes into great detail about this family, the names, the times, what happened. And at the end it says, the people who erected this monument to preserve the memory of her mother's family when the original tombstones may have crumbled away. Well, that's very insightful. And predictably that is happening, as you can see here. These will be gone in a century or two. Hard to imagine. This is really interesting here. This is a tombstone that I'm sure in its day was upright. It is completely flat and buried into the ground. And I can't read the name. Maybe it'll show up better here. Perry? It just says Father. And over here is Mother. No names. It's forgotten to history. Joseph George Nowak, Illinois, private 155th. He died March 15th, 1924. And I'm assuming this is World War I soldier. So he lived 6 years after, I think it was 1918, that World War I. Rest in peace and thank you for your service, Joseph. Here is the apparent sequence of what happens as the graves deteriorate decade after decade. They weather, they crumble, and they fall, and out of respect they're just left where they fell until they wither away to nothing. Dust to dust, right? 200 years from now, this will just be a small pile, but probably undisturbed, small pile of gravel. This is one of the few cemeteries where I see people, the caretakers, take great care. You can see this monument was busted in half, fell over probably. I just moved it off its base back into position. It's freestanding there. It's very heavy. But as you can see, someone took great care and painstaking effort to put it back together, caulk it, seal it. It'll be good for another 50 years until they fall over or break more. Again, time has no mercy. It's another ceremony at this cemetery. I think it's a wedding. What do you suppose the custom, the garb? What nationality is this? It just says Ford. crumbling away. The music you hear is from a wedding that's happening right now in the church. This is the Harrington plot. I've been told that when you see these type of markers, the tree, it means that the person has died before their time. And here Joseph Brown was 39 years old. The tree, you'll see this at many of the graves. They look similar where the branches are cut. It's cut down, signifying the tree was cut down before its time. I don't know if that's true. I saw that somewhere. This cemetery is unusual in that, at least from what I've seen so far, from the many cemeteries that I visited, that there's just a number of tombstones that are fallen over. And I realize there's some slope here, but even in the flat areas, I've seen it. You can see here, the ground is just swelling, and it's interesting because I did read one of the priests in the late 1800s. I don't know which one it was. I'll put it in the picture if I find it. Had said that when he would look out of the rectory, he would see the ground swelling up and down, lending to the haunted traditions here. And I think that is verified, if true, by what I've been seeing, especially in certain areas, some flat and some sloped. So while we're talking about the paranormal stuff, we might as well walk over here to the Sullivan Memorial. And again, it's almost all Irish here. A large family. There was a paranormal expert, actually has relations. I'll put the link of the video here below in the description, and you can listen to her and see what you believe. The statue apparently is in the likeness of a woman named Mary Hanifan. Let's see here. Hanifan. Wife of Daniel Sullivan. And it's really hard for me to read. 1837. Born, May. And she died February 20th, 1856. So, wow. 19 years old? 18, 19? Wow. So, you can see it's a beautiful carving, unfortunately in limestone. And we have a lot of Sullivans here. Where is Daniel? Here's Daniel. So here's the story. I guess there's been a lot of experiences, paranormal experiences here, where, oh, interesting, there's steps or a kneeler here. Oh, I'll bet this was a kneeler, and there's probably, well, who knows, but I guess if you're here at night, of course, everything paranormal happens at night, guys, right? There's a light that comes, an orb that comes out of the statue towards you. Anyway, have a look at what she, the video she did. Mary Rebecca Cornelius. There's no dates of death. Daniel, mother, father, and Timothy. So hopefully they're all resting in peace, as I always say. Sullivan's.